And hello, everybody, and welcome to week number 32 of Crystal Crusaders. I am joined here today by, well, three right now, but another is on his way. Four of my lovely players. Thor seems to have knocked him out with some sort of crazy drug concoction, so good on him. Good job. Everybody, round of applause for that. Uh, I doubt he's going to be here, and thusly, we are just going to go ahead and get started. Unfortunately for us, he was the one in charge of the recap. So, thankfully, by the powers of lottery in this random list that I have, Morton has gotten the short end of that stick, being put on the spot, and
Shit.
therefore will go ahead and have to present to us the recap of what happened last week. Good luck.
Previously, we started off after the fight of Golden Fields, and we started off with a day figuring out we had to deliver the fellow in a party that fellow we found earlier that had his translucent skin back
Lord
to his
Arton.
family, Lord Arton, and uh, Alexei and Briork and I don't remember your name right now.
Alamir.
Mike's check, Alamir. They took upon themselves to transport him to Waterdeep, thus take the portal by the Harpers over to Yartar, so they could deliver him home to his family. As they were doing that, they was mostly travel for most of the time. They got to Yartar. They met this angry fellow that was watching the portal in Yartar, which was in his garden, and he really didn't like people in his garden. And Alexei and them tried to keep the portal secret, but they didn't. Anyway, they got to the family, and the mother seemed like a slightly uptight woman, but fine. And they got the reward for delivering him. Thus, they travel back and back to Waterdeep now, looking for some information about a dragon house, and we're gonna talk about fighting some dragons. And that's where they left off. Me and my character and
You and
Alquil.
your character?
You and your
Yes,
character. You jumped into the
yes,
game.
me and my character. My character and Alquil, so Sirik and Alquil, they stayed in Golden Fields, making sure that nothing happened to the giant, talking with the guard captain about leaving, and the guard captain there wants us to leave because he thinks it's slightly our fault that Golden Fields was attacked, and he wants us to leave as fast as possible, and we said we would. But meanwhile, we're helping out in the Golden Fields and making sure our giant fella doesn't get brutally murdered by the people. And that's basically where we left off.
Yep. And after that,
Huh?
there was a little bit
Oh,
more after that.
yeah, I left the session in the very end, remember,
Yes.
because I was gonna go home.
So, I guess you want to finish up, Mike?
Uh,
I was feeling like everyone gathered and they were preparing to leave for the city and leave for the Giants' hideout.
I mean, I think we started the trek.
Yeah.
So we told Lod
Lob.
to guide us to where he believes. So we got a bit out into the terrain, and obviously the giant didn't seem completely confident, but we decided to follow his directions anyway. Fuck, I can't remember the last bit. I can't remember how we ended it because we ended it because it was good timing to end. I think before something was about to happen.
Yeah, I think Morton was leaving, like gone at the time. We were discussing him having to change his spell because the giant was just like screaming in like bloody fury in the morning for being
All
hungry.
right.
And basically, I think we left off where Lob like got up. You managed to feed him. We sorted out the situation, and he basically got up and it was like he like pointed towards the south, and he's like, "It's this way, definitely." after a long period of consideration on his part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we pick off. It's first thing in the morning. Xeric, you have prayed for new spells. In order to create food and water, and you have cast that. I already marked it off for you. You have cast that in order to sustain the giant. Basically, he takes all of the food that is conjured from that, and just chows it down. Unlike normal people who would probably complain that it's just tasteless and bland, he doesn't seem to care. He just scarfs it all down, belches loudly, and then takes a few moments to think before declaring proudly that Grudd is this way and pointing to the south. And he begins marching off. All of you guys sort of following after him. And across these sort of like open rolling plains. Obviously, here you're kind of like out in the wilderness, so there's not really a whole lot going on in terms of like other people or travel. You've kind of had to you had to like cross the river, so you've kind of had to like leave some things behind because you have to basically kind of travel on foot mostly. You've got some like horses, but other than that, not much. Couldn't really get a cart across the river or anything like that. So, traveling light here. As you are making your way across the plains here, about halfway through the day, you come across an area where there's like some hills, some like low-lying bushes, and the likes, and what looks as though it's not really a trail necessarily. It almost looks as though like something large was at some like recent point kind of like dragged through here and created what looks like a trail that leads through this area. And Lob's just kind of like plodding along when all of a sudden he like stops, just like really like suddenly kind of like brake checks you almost, and maybe even a couple of you kind of like slam into the back of his legs as he just like suddenly stops in the middle of nowhere. And he doesn't say anything though. He just like stops and he's like staring off further down the trail.
Log, what's wrong?
And he says, "Ugh, Slob." He kind of like just points like, "It's scary." Ugh.
What? I look where he's pointing or where he's gesturing to. Do I say anything?
So you can't see it because you're so low to the ground. You can't actually see over the like hills that he's pointing over. But what you can now that you kind of like focus in a little bit more, Xeric definitely hears this. You can now hear what sounds like the clash of metal weapons hitting each other. But the tone of it is a lot more like bassy than usual. And you hear like shouting, like deep shouting, up ahead in the distance. The sounds of fighting. It almost sounds like the level of volume almost sounds like armies clashing.
Hmm.
I'm like, there's something fighting on the other side of this hill.
Master Dwarf, are you how's your eyesight? Are you perceptive?
Yeah, but I'm pretty short and can't see over the hill right in front of us.
Yeah, Lord, can you lift up Xeric so he can see what you're seeing?
Oh shit.
And he just sort of like thinks for a moment, and then without really like saying anything, just reaches down to Xeric, picking him up between his like thumb and his forefinger. And Xeric, there's just this like awful kind of like smell of this unwashed hill giant entering into your nostrils as he just lifts you up, like up into the air as high as he can. You're dangling maybe like 20 feet above the ground now, basically just like being held between this giant's two fingers as he like lifts you up over the hill. And as you take a look, you can see that up ahead in the distance, in the direction that you're traveling, battling on the other side of a hill, there are several like giant-sized figures that seem to be clashing with each other. There are 4 in total. 2 of them seem to be wearing kind of like leather outfits. They have like skull helms on, kind of like deep blue skin, wielding great axes. The others have this sort of like red bronze skin, fiery red hair. They are wearing what appears to be like full sets of like black metal plate mail armor and wielding greatswords, and they are clashing. Like these 2 different groups are like clashing with each other up ahead.
Does it look like sparring or actually just beating the shit out of it?
Well, as you look a little bit closer, you see there is a third of the frost giants that is just lying on the ground like in a puddle of blood.
And I know the difference between fire and frost giants, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I go like, oh shit, there's fire and frost giants fighting up ahead.
Each other?
Yes, they're actually like killing each other. It's not sparring, they're trying to slaughter each other.
Yeah, just from a brief glimpse, it's hard to see which side has the advantage.
Yeah, I just go like, I have no idea who's winning, but I mean, what we could do is go in and finish them off, because if we let them kill each other, we could go and take whoever's winning and
do we even have to do anything? We can just go around them.
I like that idea.
But I'm more of the kind that if we kill them now, we prevent them from attacking someone later. And they're gonna weaken each other, and I mean, pretty much all giants around have tried to kill us. There's been like one that didn't.
I guess.
I don't want to like exhaust ourselves. This is why I want them to finish each other pretty much first. Like 1 or 2 left, we go in and quick sweep.
Yeah, sure. I do think that it would be better if we just avoided them, but it is to say
we can do that as well. Yeah, like I don't mean it's just
it is as you say though, they might go and do some harm to others if they are left alive. We could just watch and see what happens, and then determine whether it's worth it.
Exactly, we could do that
or not. Are you able to see any place where we can sneak up closer and let's stay hidden?
Do I spot somewhere that's like some foliage?
Yeah, so they're kind of like fighting on this like almost like this hill that kind of like cuts across the area. And there's like some like bushes and stuff that you could probably like get a little bit closer and hide in. At least you guys. You're not exactly sure about Lob. There's probably not really much hiding him.
No, he could. I don't know.
We how long ago was it we crossed that river?
That was yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. And we've gotten pretty far since then.
Yeah, this is about like halfway through the next day's travel.
Okay.
So you've probably gone about 12 miles.
Right. Log.
Yes.
We're gonna need you to stay here and stay out of sight from those other giants. And don't do anything until we come back to get you, okay?
And remember, I got food for you. I can make food.
He just sort of like nods, and he's just like, yes, Lob, scared of East Jotun, Il Jotun, scary, strong, stronger than Lob. Lob, stay here.
That's good. We'll try to scare them away for you. And I guess we'll try to sneak up closer where Xerax saw a possible point.
Yeah.
All right. Why doesn't everybody go ahead and give me a nice group stealth check here?
Did me or Mike get the inspiration for the thingy?
Yeah, I'll give you.
I have already since before. So.
I clicked one. Oh,
Look at
geez.
that.
Wow, nice. Here comes the disadvantage
comes-
bullshit.
Here comes the big gas.
Well, the stealth.
A natural 20 and a 4. Ah, for fuck's sake.
I don't see the stealth thing.
Second on the bottom.
Yeah, I have sleight of hand and survival.
Hold on.
It's plus your dex.
One
roll
second
D20.
here. Let me just do this. Hold on. I think I gotta go on the options. Where is it? Generate. Does that work? There we go.
Yeah,
Now
there we
you
go.
have stealth.
There. Thank you.
Sometimes the sheet doesn't like auto-populate all of the. It's
Oh
weird.
no, that's supposed to be disadvantage. Hold on. Or we could just
I
take the
mean,
lower. So
yeah,
4
4
plus
plus
2,
Six.
6.
6. And lastly, I need Lucas. Lucas. Stealth check.
Locust.
Locust.
Zach.
He's even here.
Maybe not.
Guess not.
All right, then I will go on his sheet and I will click it for him. All right, so let me just see here. We've got 22, 5, 6, 17. That's 50. So an average of 12.5. Nice.
Yay.
Nice.
I high five Zurich. And it makes a loud noise because our gauntlets.
Of course, yeah. So, let me see here. Let's see if either of these. Either of these giants will notice you or not as you approach. Okay. Yeah, so you guys begin to carefully try to like sneak your way over to the over to where this fighting is happening, just so you can get like a little bit of a closer look. But as you're kind of like making your way across, Sir Alamir or Zurich, one or both of them,
Both.
kind of like hits their like gauntlet or their greaves, their like metal boots against like a rock, and it makes this loud sort of like sound. And you notice like the giants, like they're clashing. Their weapons are sort of like held together right now. Both of the sort of like all of the giants fighting like turn in your direction, and they kind of like pause for a moment. Just like kind of like looking towards you, and they like obviously see you, and they don't like run in your direction or anything like that, but they're definitely like aware of you.
So they stop fighting each other?
Temporarily, as they all kind of like hear that sound and like look over in your direction. You notice that one of the pairs that's like further away from you, like begins to like keep fighting. The other pair is sort of like backing up a little bit, just like wary of you. They're still sort of like circling each other, but like keeping an eye on you as well.
Do they look particularly wounded, either of them?
As you look, you can see that the fire giant seems to have this large like gash that has been cut through the plate mail armor, and looks to be like kind of like breathing pretty heavily. The frost giant is injured a little bit. You can see like a few like cut marks, but otherwise seems to be in pretty good fighting condition, and is probably going to defeat this fire giant relatively quickly.
All right. What do we do here?
And in fact, as you're kind of like watching the two of them again, like sort of like clash weapons, and as it's going, the frost giant lets out this like battle cry and swings its great axe with enough force to finally knock the fire giant's greatsword out of its hands, and like lifts its axe up to like do a finishing blow.
But I have nothing that I can do here.
I'm still not sure why we're doing this.
You should have been here then.
Exactly. I'm not saying anything.
You're echoing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I say we leave. Let's leave.
Very well.
They're obviously. Oh, you're here, Alexei. Nice. Nice to hear from you.
All right. So you guys.
All right.
Like,
Well,
go to, like,
since
just,
nobody
like,
else
run
is doing
away?
it, I'm commanding everyone to. We're leaving.
Yeah.
We're going around. We're going back to Lod and taking a long way around.
All right. Yeah. So you guys like run as the frost giant brings its axe down into the fire giant's neck. There's like this spout of blood that kind of erupts surrounding the covering the surroundings. And as he like yanks the axe over, he like looks in your direction, see you all fleeing, and you just hear him shout like, "Ha! That's right! Run, you cowardly worms!" Before grabbing the axe and running over to help his companion with the other fire giant.
Yes, that's wise words. And yeah, we'll make our way back to Lod and.
All right, yeah. So you make your way back about like a few minutes away, and Lob's just sort of like waiting. He's like crouched into like trying to hide himself behind like a tree, but you see like 90% of him is still visible. He's just like balled up behind this tree.
All right, Log. They're just killing each other, so we're going to go around them. So, are you able to see a path that we can take that leads away from them?
So yeah, he says, "Around, but Grudd, that way."
Yes, but we can just walk a little bit to the side and then go back on the path.
He said, "But if we walk away from Grudd, won't be going toward it anymore."
That's correct. But it. Maybe we should just wait.
You're not really sure if the hill giant possesses the like mental capability to like course correct like that. If you could, if one of you wanted to like take over temporarily, you could probably like navigate around. But it's clear like the hill giant's not gonna be able to do it.
Yeah. Lexi is like, I'm sure we could just go off and then course correct our own way until we're back on a path that he recognizes.
Sure. I look to Briork. Are you able to help us with this?
He says, sure. Give me a few minutes to scout around. I'll see if there's a clear path.
Sure.
Watch out for giants.
Yeah, and he kind of like glares at you, Alexei, as he like kind of like wanders off into the wilderness to like look for an alternate route. And yeah, after like a few minutes, he kind of like returns and he says, "I think I found a way around. Follow me."
Follow him.
All right. Yeah. So you follow him, and he kind of like goes around this like hilled area. And you see he kind of like leads you up to what looks like this kind of like there's a ravine that kind of like cuts across the landscape. And like the hills basically come up to the edge of this ravine, and he like sort of points around. He's like, it's the only place I could really find that would be out of line of sight of those giants. And he says, we'll have to skirt around the edge of this ravine, but as long as nobody trips and falls, we should be fine.
Okay. Excellent.
I look at Log. Is he going to be able to?
Based on the size of the ravine, like it's pretty big for you, but for a giant, they could probably just step across it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Lead the way.
All right. Yeah. So Briork begins carefully, kind of like leading you around like the edge of this ravine. Just for fun, can you all give me a dexterity check?
Man, dexterity checks are always so fun. I'm glad you wanted to do one for fun.
Just for fun.
There's no disadvantage or anything because of armor.
No.
And shit.
This is more like balance keeping. In fact, if you have proficiency in acrobatics, I'd say you can add that.
All right. Yeah, so +5 instead of 2, so 13 instead of 10.
Okay. Lucas?
I'm waiting for my sheet to load.
The classic.
Yep. Here we go.
Here we go. All right.
Nice.
Yes. So, you are all able to. Nobody failed spectacularly, so you are all able to make your way across, kind of like skirting the edge of this ravine where it meets these sort of like hilly cliffs. And yeah, you make it around to the other side. Blob takes his like sweet time before like he gets what's going on, and like just like kind of like jumps over to the other side of the ravine and kind of like meets you on the other side. And yeah, then Briark leads you past like around the hills back into the sort of like rolling plains, and you are now kind of like on the other side of where the fighting was. And Briark's just like, we should pretty much just be on exactly the same heading we were following before. Lab begins like looking around, somewhat like confused, and he's just like, and he begins sort of like thinking. He's like, which way? And let me see here.
Oh god, how are you rolling his intelligence rolls now?
-30.
And he says, yes, Lob recognizes it this way. And he's sort of like, whereas before you were kind of heading relatively due south, he's now sort of like pointing more off to the southeast. And he begins walking that way.
What's the worst that could happen? Keep following.
Yeah, so you walk along with him, kind of like the rest of the day. Nothing else of interest sort of like occurs. And at the end of the day, you can see there is a sort of like mountain looming in the distance in front of you, kind of like off to the east. And like you seem to be entering into some like kind of like more packed foothills around the base of this mountain. The terrain has gone from these sort of like rolling like grassy plains to now it's more of like these kind of like barren and like almost like hilly badlands.
Okay.
But it is like the end of the traveling day at this point, and as is typical, as soon as like you kind of like get to this point, Lob just like yawns loudly and then just like collapses in the middle of the open kind of like fields, and starts snoring loudly.
Just straight up goes to bed. Alright, I guess it seems we're camping here.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you like look around, you're just like, God, this is like awful. There's no cover. There's no like hiding yourself at all. It's just like the open.
Great.
Like the
We hide
worst,
behind the lob.
the worst camping spot ever.
Yeah, we can hide behind Lob.
Yeah, so you guys head to sleep, setting up your sort of like watch order here through the night. And you can just go ahead and finish a short rest. Nothing occurs during the night, luckily enough for you. And in the morning, you are all woken by the rather loud cries of a hungry giant screaming for food.
Yes. I cast create food and water.
All right.
Just tell him to chop in.
Yes. So Zurich very quickly conjures some food, and the giant just sort of like begins kind of like scarfing it down, just leaving like scraps and like it's the messiest eater you've ever seen. Scraps kind of like flying everywhere. And after like a few minutes, when he seems like satisfied, he belches loudly and he says, "Yes, lamb is ready. It was." And he kind of like points sort of like kind of like he starts pointing east and then he's like and like corrects like a little bit north. This way.
Wait.
Is that the same direction we went yesterday?
No, so you were going kind of like south and then like east, and now he's sort of pointing mostly east but somewhat north towards like the mountain and the hills.
All right. Great. We follow him.
All right. So he begins bounding off into the sort of like hilly Badlands area, and there's kind of like these big like plateau rock formations and all that everywhere. So you're kind of like going between them or underneath them, navigating your way through. And at eventually at some point during the day, as you're walking, you come across a sight that you didn't necessarily expect to see as you were wandering the kind of like wilds with this giant. Up ahead of you, in what appears to be this sort of like valley between a few like rock formations, you see what looks like a town. Buildings, like structures that have been kind of like nestled in this valley along a small stream that seems to like lead down from the mountains and the hills. And you can see the buildings up ahead, and Lab notices this as well, and he says, small folk buildings.
Aye.
Yes.
Well, why? Okay, what are we gonna do here? We can't bring this guy in there.
No.
Correct.
I guess we'll just have to walk around.
Well, looking at the situation that you're in, you're sort of like in this like valley, almost between these like two high peaks, and they're kind of like they've got like almost like cliff face kind of walls. So without like climbing equipment, there's not really any way to go around, unless you want to backtrack a whole lot and look for another path, and that's gonna lose you a lot of time.
Are we in a rush?
I mean,
Not really.
the rush is that you kind of have to get the Grudd Haug before you run out of ability to produce food for this giant.
Yeah.
Alexei,
Hello.
are you able to cast invisibility on our hill giant friend here?
Sort of look up. It's like, well, not today.
Okay.
But if you want, I can prepare it for tomorrow.
No, we can't wait for tomorrow. We need to go.
I can cast it.
Good lad.
But do we think that an invisible giant is the right approach?
I think it would be quite interesting to see just these footprints appear from nothing.
Well, we need to get through somehow. We don't need to stay here. Well, as long as we can just walk through this town.
I mean, if that's what you want, I'll do it.
Is it possible to go round?
Oh, James, you're not listening.
All right, fine.
All right. So what's the plan?
Well, that's the only option I see, unless we go backtrack and try to find a place to climb past.
Or we can always try to bring it into town.
Bring what in?
Hey, start chuckling for myself.
I mean, for what it's worth, unlike our full spellcasters here, being a warlock, Lucas gets his spell slots back every day.
Yeah. Well, I say we try it. Just make Log invisible and
Alright,
just
who else
trek through.
wants to be invisible with us? I can make 3 people invisible.
I put my hand up in air.
I mean, we don't need any other people invisible, but
Me.
Actually, no. Actually, I think Log is gonna freak out more if we vanish, he doesn't know he's invisible.
Yeah. I think it's just better if we turn only Lord invisible.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Lord. We're going to walk through this town. Try not to step on anything. Don't make any noises. We're just going to walk through.
He just says, sure. Yeah. And he begins moving to just walk through.
I pat him on his foot.
All right. Yeah. So you just pat him, and all of a sudden he just winks out of existence. But obviously you don't lose track of him because you can just hear him going, "Doof, doof, doof," and you see his feet creating depressions in the ground.
Lord, try to sneak a little bit.
And he's just like, "What? Sneak?" And he just
sorry.
continues,
And then you see the.
Lob, do the big shush shush.
Oh, right.
You speak, Lord? Alright,
I hope he understands common, by the way, because that's all I said that in.
Alright, we're
somebody
walking
can relay,
with
somebody
him.
could relay the message. Right, yeah. So he's obviously he's still making a bit of sound, but he's walking tiptoe, invisibly. But he's such a large creature that he's just still making pretty big vibrations every single time he touches the ground. So you get a little bit closer to the village, and you can now see what appears to be it seems like a small hamlet or homestead kind of nestled in the hills here. You see signs that there were fields kind of outside growing more hardy crops potato and stuff like that. But you notice as you get closer, it doesn't look as though there's anybody around. You don't see anybody working the fields. You don't see people kind of out in the streets. But the buildings are all intact. They look new-ish. They look like they've been maintained recently. But you just don't see anybody. And as you kind of enter into the center of town, you see that there's kind of this big open area that would have probably served as a meeting point or just a little kind of gathering area in the center of town. There is a series of large gashes that have been kind of torn across the ground in the center of town. It seems random to you. There may be 5 foot wide trenches that have been torn. It seems kind of random to you. From what you can see, at least from your current kind of vantage point. And you notice as well, Xeric, as you're kind of walking through, at the top of these sort of cliffs to either side of this town, they're not really cliffs, but they're just really steep hills. On the top of them, there are about 6 or so, 3 on each side, statues of these humans sort of sitting cross-legged, with their hands sort of held in some sort of prayer gesture or something of the likes. They're just perfectly still statues that are humanoid shaped.
Stone shaper, since I'm a dwarf, can I look at them and see if there's something suspicious about it?
No, they're pretty far. They're too far away for you to be able to see detail on them. They're way up at the top of these hills.
Okay. I go but there's something suspicious about these statues, and I can't see what the fuck it is from here. And there's something really suspicious about this town.
Yeah, and you hear the stomping of your companion kind of stop, and he says, "Oh, Lob, and he kind of you hear him moving closer to where those lines are kind of drawn.
Wait, Lob, wait. What do you hear? What do you see?
And he says, this lines familiar.
Where have you seen them before?
And he's just kind of ugh. You hear him scratching his head, and he's just I don't know, but familiar. And he says,
Good or bad familiar?
And as he says that, suddenly you all like hear this noise kind of begin to build, and it's this strange sort of like almost like soothing sound, this like deep basal note that seems to resonate through the valley, and it doesn't say, like, those of you that can like understand language, like any of these languages, it doesn't really like say anything, but you hear this like
Oh no, we're getting attacked by Buddhist monks.
and it just seems to sort of like start echoing through the valley, and at like a few moments, like the ground kind of begins to like shake lightly.
These groves in the ground, do they look like they've been dug down or something has dug up? Like
It looks as though something went into the ground and like carved across it like a trench.
okay.
Fresh or old?
Relatively fresh, like the dirt is still kind of like wet, from where it like was overturned.
It's not reminiscent of like a battle trench or for defense purposes.
No,
It's not.
It literally looks like somebody took a massive hoe and just like raked it across the ground. And there are a number of lines that seem to be going off at like different angles. Some of the lines are kind of like curved, looking. But like again, from your position, you can't really like see. Like you're just like low on the ground. You can't really like see an overall. Like it covers the whole of this like kind of like square.
Can we determine where from the sound comes from?
Well, it's kind of because of the acoustics of the valley, it's kind of like echoing from all around you, and it seems to be building in intensity now. And you hear this loud like.
I pull up my shield. I have a weapon and my shield, and I kind of like get ready.
And at this point, the ground is shaking pretty violently. And Lob is just shouting like, "What's going on? What's going on?"
We don't know. Should we go through or go back? Quickly.
Yeah, Brick just shouts like, "Whatever you do, you better do it quick."
All right, we're going through. Everybody run
All
through.
Yeah, so you begin kind of like sprinting through the town. But at this point, the chanting, this sort of like deep singing, is picking up in volume. And now like the shaking is like violent earthquakes, kind of like tearing through the area. Buildings around you begin to sort of like collapse on themselves. And you notice that some of the rocks like up ahead, on the top of these hills kind of begin to like break off, and pieces of them begin sliding down in like front of your path. There is this rock slide that kind of like begins to descend towards the town. It's slow for now, but it's going to like quickly gain on you. We're gonna kind of go into like a bit of a skill challenge here, as you kind of like try to escape this. I guess who would like to go first? Who would like to like what do you try to do to try to speed yourselves up to escape from this rock slide that is now descending towards this town?
Does anyone have any magic?
Nothing
Just gonna
that
stop
can help
a rock
with this.
slide? No. Not for you
Actually,
guys. For me alone, yes.
I actually have something that might help. Give me a second. I just need to read a little bit.
Lucas, what do you mean only by yourself? What do you mean?
Dimension door? Or fly?
Well,
Wish I had spelled like long strider or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of.
That spell does not help.
Doesn't have to be a spell, it can be a skill check, guys.
Lucas, get yourself to safety at least. Are you able to do anything for anyone else?
I can bring one more person with fly. But it will stop invisibility on Lob.
I don't think that's our concern right now. Take
Me.
No, you have
I'm the dwarf.
magic, Alexei?
I'm the
Does
dwarf. I have
anyone
the-
really not have an idea for a skill check?
Hmm?
A skill check? You can use a skill. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be a
I mean, you
spell.
could use
know,
like
but-
athletics to, or like
Yeah, but
survival or
I don't
something.
really see how you would use it like. Okay, I use my athletics to run faster.
I mean, I use my athletics to pile debris in the way so that we can stop the rocks from crushing down on us. Like, you've got to think outside of the box here with these skills.
Let me see.
Okay, can you just put my settings so I know like which way we're running? Like, what is it in front of us?
So
Brad.
you're running through a town. In front of you, you see there's basically just like kind of like a road, and there are buildings to either side, and then like you're in between these valleys, and there's like this rock slide kind of like coming down towards your direction. Occasionally, like pieces of large rock will like break off and kind of slam in front of your path as you're going by, as they like hit like a bump on their way down.
Can I
Can
use
I-
intimidation?
I mean, that depends. How are you going to use it?
I want to scare everyone into thinking it's a lot worse than it is to give them an extra burst of adrenaline.
Yeah, I'd say you could probably try to do that. It would probably be a pretty like difficult skill DC. But
Oh,
you
really?
could certainly try. Yeah, I think it's kind of like it's a big ask, but it's definitely within the possibilities. So it'd be like a higher DC, but it's definitely possible.
What about deception to trick Lob into blocking the landslide for us? It's like, Lob, we really need you on this side.
Yeah, I mean, totally. You could totally like kind of like trick him into like shielding you, or at least like allowing you to maybe like run under him to protect you. Yeah.
All right, no, I'll do that one then. That seems like it'd be easier than like scaring everybody
Okay.
on.
We can't make him die. We need him.
Is there any
He'll
on
be
our path,
fine.
is there any like towers, any water tower, anything?
I have one I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use my perception to make out the best path on the way we can run to get the fastest.
All right. Well, let's
wait.
start with the first person. So let's start with the deception check here.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. I don't want to kill Lob unless I have to.
Oh, he'll be fine.
Right.
He's a big boy.
All right. Yeah. So you with the help of Alco translating, kind of like relate to Lob, the situation, and kind of like trick him essentially into shielding you all. So you kind of like all like crowd kind of like underneath him, and he just begins like moving forward with you following under him, and yeah, his like large bulk enables you to like move quickly without having to worry about the boulders that seem to be kind of be raining from up above landing on you. He takes kind of like the brunt of it, but he's like a big kind of like beefy guy, so he doesn't really seem too phased by getting brushed by the occasional boulder. As you are quickly making your way through town. So yes, that is one successful check.
You're welcome.
And at this point,
He did that while invisible too.
the sounds have kind of like grown a bit like louder. You're still concentrating on invisibility.
I mean, why not?
I guess, but I mean, at this point, let me actually check what this. Actually,
that
you
break
Whoever's
do.
coming after us, it's more of a power move.
with
They don't
the,
know that, like.
No, so here's the thing with the heavy shaking of the ground, and what's actually going on, you actually have to make a Constitution saving throw. Okay, let me double check here. That is not enough to beat the DC. So yes, the invisibility fails. As your concentration is shaken by this like literal shaking.
But yeah, could I roll perception to make out the clearest path moving forward?
Yeah, you can definitely go ahead to like make a perception check to see if you can spot like a way through these buildings, the rapidly collapsing buildings and debris that's kind of like falling.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, Xeric, you quickly look around and you see there's a building up ahead that most of the buildings here are made of like wood, but this one appears to have been made from stone. It's larger than the others, probably some sort of like important church or town hall or something of the likes, but it seems to be resisting the effects of this like earth shaking much better than the other buildings, and its roof structure is kind of protecting the area around it from the falling debris. So you quickly shout for everybody to kind of like run through or near that building to allow you to kind of like make your way through without having to weave around falling debris or collapsed buildings. And so that is a second success. At this point in time, the chanting has kind of like grown louder, and as you're running across the open at this point, in front of you, you see the ground begins to crack and split, and this massive sort of 10-foot wide fissure just seems to cut across the entirety of the town, opening in front of you. Thankfully, not beneath you. But you can see like the ground is beginning to split open. It is shaking violently. Buildings are collapsing. Debris is falling all around you. Who would like to make the next sort of check here? You're up to 2 successes.
Can I do?
You just went, so you can't make another one. Somebody else has to go.
Wait. Yeah.
Yep.
Can I go again?
I will say at least one more person has to go.
Is there any like tower structure or some sort of higher, narrower building close to this gap?
Yeah, so like on one on the side of the sort of like fissure that seems to have opened, it looks somewhat unstable now from the shaking. There is this sort of like tall, almost like watchtower that has been constructed. It's still standing for now, although you're not exactly sure how long, given the fact that it's just kind of like wood sticks sticking up out of the ground. But for now, it seems stable.
Can I try and take my poleaxe and just cut it in a way to weaken the side towards the crack, so it falls. So when it collapses, it falls over the crack. So we have like a bridge-like thing.
Yeah, sure. I would say that would probably be an athletics check to basically just like pure strength, try to like break the wooden support. All right. Yeah, so you run over there, look quickly at this sort of like tower. You don't really have the sort of like calculating mind of Alexei, but you're just like, cut this and it'll probably fall the way I want it to. So you slam into it with your kind of like poleaxe here. Hard, and thankfully it seems as though the shaking and the earthquake that's going on have weakened the support enough that you were able to kind of like crush through it. You notice like the building begins to like topple over, falling mostly in the way that you want it to, but also sort of slightly towards you, so you have to like quickly run out of the way as this building kind of like collapses over the ravine, creating this sort of like rough scattering of debris that could be traversed across it.
And I'll like say, all right, everyone over, please cast fly on Lord. So I don't think this will hold for him.
I mean, it's not that wide. He could probably just jump it.
Oh, okay. All right, everybody over.
All right, yeah.
And
so as you're clambering over, you notice like the ground is splitting and cracking like all around you. A number of buildings, like a fissure opens and a number of buildings just like kind of collapse into it, like into this like dark ravine. Looking down, you can see that the fissure seems to have like opened and it's like pretty deep in there as you're like kind of crossing over. But you get to the other side successful, and you're now kind of like running across this big like open area. You're almost like most of the way out of the town. You can see like looking back just real quickly, the rock slide is sort of like, it almost seems to be coming from like this epicenter almost. So it's still like following after you, but it's like almost like this sort of like V formation now, where like some of it has crashed into the town already, and the rest is kind of just like slowly going along the rest of the valley. And you just see it's basically like burying the town, which has been just completely ruined by all the shaking, the ground splitting open. Who would like to make the next skill check here, or provide the next thing? You're pretty much almost out of the town here.
Anyone? Alexei?
Don't know what to use.
So what is the obstacle we're overcoming this time? Or is it just...
This is just like a general, like, you're almost out of the town. The rock slide is kind of like coming up behind you, but it's like progressing at a faster pace than you're kind of like able to move at the moment, especially since you're having to like dodge around collapsing buildings and the likes. But you can see where this sort of like hill structure ends on the other side of this town, and you're like nearly there.
All right.
Uh,
are you able to do anything?
You just hear like screaming and panicking.
Oh. I think
Could I
that
use-
something that's no.
Could I use my history to know that once there was great mines or canals built here long ago, and if we run in a certain direction, some of the landslide will slip down into those old, trenches in the earth.
You can certainly try.
Yep. 21.
With a 21, I will say that though you're not exactly familiar with this area, you know that there were pretty like substantial kind of like mining operations around these sorts of hills, and you have to imagine that somewhere in this town there is probably like an opening, like a mine shaft of some sort. And with this sort of knowledge, you kind of direct everybody to look around, and you guys do in fact find this sort of kind of like mining operation, like this shaft that has kind of been carved into the ground, and can in the when used in the right way, probably like shelter you from rocks falling from there, and you can actually just kind of like wait out on the other side of it and like wait out the rest of this rock slide without like being put in danger, as all the debris kind of like falls down into the mine shaft.
And once again, I have saved us all. You're welcome.
I like confidence.
And eventually, you all hear this sort of like deep guttural chanting come to a close, and the shaking and the rock slides kind of like cease. And looking around you, you see just like complete destruction and devastation throughout this entire valley. If there's not a single building that is still sort of standing. Everything is just sort of like covered in rocks or collapsed into the fissures that have opened into the ground. The ground has been like churned and torn up. And as you guys are kind of like climbing out from where you had like taken shelter from the rock slides here at the outskirts of the village, Xeric, you notice that those statues that you saw earlier begin to like stand up and walk away, like out of line of sight, back away from the ledge of the hills.
Those fucking statues, man. Fucking hell. There's a bunch of statues up there, and now they're just getting up and walking away.
The statues are walking away.
Ah,
Okay.
It must be magic. Oh,
I
cool.
look at him like, really?
Okay.
And at this point, Lob is visible now because you lost concentration. And he just sort of says, "Oh, Lob remembers!" He says, "Stein Jotun!"
What, Jotun?
He says, "Stein Jotun!"
Stein.
Stone
Stone?
giants?
Yeah, that's the giant word for stone.
Here? Do they live here?
And he says, "Lob don't know, but symbol carved in ground.
Do I know
Stein
something about
ruin."
Jotun?
I mean,
So,
you would know like the basics. They are kind of like they're these weird kind of reclusive giants that mostly live underground, and not a lot of people like know much about them, because unlike other giants, not a lot of people actually have contact with them.
But I know how they look. Do I know that?
Yeah,
those
they're
of
sort of
them-
like mottled gray skin, kind of like these almost like carved features to their faces. And in fact, if one is sitting perfectly still, it's very hard to tell the difference between that and a statue that has been like built there.
So I know that those were most likely stone giants.
I mean, probably you could probably put two and two together.
Yeah, I was like, those statues, those are most likely the stone giants, and those stone giants probably did this. So, let's get the fuck out.
What was it?
Yeah.
Lob said something about a rune.
The carving in the middle of the town.
Carving in the ground. It's their symbol.
Ah, right.
Yeah, he sort of like says, "Yes, the Steinrune."
Thank you, Lob. Never late.
Yeah, and he sort of, and then he kind of like lifts up like a piece of his like the flab of his belly, and you see there's an insignia like burned into there, this sort of like rune, and he like points to it, and he says, "Haug," and he kind of like gestures to himself.
I see.
That's the hill rune?
Uh,
Or
and
the
he
hill
kinda, like,
triangle?
he like nods, like he's like, "Yes, Haugjoten."
I'm going to copy down what that symbol of the stone giants and the hill giants
You
look
can
like.
see the stone giant one because it was so big and spread out over the area, but you can definitely kind of like try to like very quickly copy this like hill giant one before he like lets his belly fat flob back over it.
Yes. Shh. Perfect.
So this is a human-sized town, though.
Yeah. It was like a human-sized settlement.
Yeah. All right, that's weird.
And now it's just been like bulldozed. And definitely like when you arrived here, it looked as though it was lived in recently. It didn't look like it was abandoned for a long time.
Okay. Alexei, do you know anything about stone giants?
Well, not a whole lot in great detail, but Brad, what would I roll?
No, so I would say Alexei wouldn't really have any more of a chance of knowing any more than Xeric would or anything like that, because there's just not a whole lot out there about stone giants. They're reclusive. There's not a whole lot of information about them.
I'm afraid there's not a whole lot of information about them. So reclusive, them.
It seems like they caused this avalanche just by making a noise, a sound.
Very interesting type of magic.
If it even is magic.
What else could it be? Come now.
Yeah, and Lob at this point is just like, Steinjoten, skilled ruin carvers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Lob, do you know the way?
He says, Lob forgot, but let me think. Shaking. Shook it from my brain. And he starts like squinting his eyes and like thinking hard, as he tries to like remember the way. Yeah, and he says, yes, this way. And he kind of like points, sort of like to the east, somewhat south, like straight towards where the mountains are in front of you.
All right. Perfect. Lead the way.
All right. Yeah. So he begins to lead the way. And for the rest of the day, you're kind of like cutting through this landscape here. And kind of like later in the day, you come across this area where you're kind of like walking on the edge of like a cliff almost, and you see up ahead what looks like kind of like crumbled remains of like old buildings, like stone kind of like architecture that is definitely from like a bygone era, crumbling around. But you notice there are sort of like the faint flickering signs of like firelight coming from kind of within these ruins. And occasionally you hear the sound of kind of like stone collapsing being kind of like dragged away.
Briark and Lucas, would you be able to sneakily have a look and see what's going up on there, over there?
Can always try.
And yeah, he sort of says, yeah, could take a look. So you can you do that thing where you just, and he kind of like snaps his fingers, like.
Has it been an hour? Have I gotten my spell slots back yet?
So we're traveling, so you get your spell slots back at the end of the day, basically, like when you do the short rest.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sure.
All right. So you cast invisibility on yourself and Briark.
And I'll cast it on a random third person for fun.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, so you and Briark both kind of like go invisible, and Briark sort of says, just wait for us, we'll be right back. And yeah, so the two of you walk off kind of like invisibly. I'm not gonna ask you to make stealth checks just because there's a lot of, when you arrive there's a lot of like kind of like noise and stuff going on, and it's obvious that they're not really paying attention for that sort of like small detail of noise. So when you arrive, you see there is what appears to be these kind of like ruined wall segments or something of the likes that look ancient and old, but like mixed between them and the source of this kind of like firelight, you see what appear to be humans with kind of like blue face painting kind of like on their faces, tattoos along their arms, wearing kind of like ragged furs and what appear to be kind of like bear pelts on as cloaks. They are joined by what appear to be like small black bears, and they are currently kind of like looking around, working to break apart the stone. But you also notice kind of like on the other side, two tall, imposing, sort of slender, gray mottled skin creatures, stone giants, that are using their sort of like clubs to break apart the stone and kind of like rearrange it, creating what appear to be like sculptures or something of the broken pieces. And it seems as though these two groups, one of which you recognize as stone giants, the other which appears to be one of the like Uthgard tribespeople, are kind of like working in concert to dismantle these ruins.
Hmm. I mean, there's conversation going on, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, but neither of the groups are speaking a language that any of the people present understand.
Damn it. If I wasn't invisible, I could just turn on the helm of comprehend languages.
Yeah, so like, and Briark sort of like affirms this. He's like, giants aren't really saying much of anything, and I don't understand the Uthgard language.
I was like, if I wasn't invisible, if I wasn't holding this invisibility, I could understand them.
And he says, but from what I can see, they seem to be breaking these ruins apart for some reason.
Do the runes look familiar?
Not really, but just like looking at the size of them, they were definitely like some sort of like humanoid civilization, elves or dwarves or humans or something of the like, long since forgotten and abandoned.
All right, I'm assuming it looks like they're like here to stay for a while.
Yeah, they look like they've still got quite a ways to go, and they look intent on just like dismantling this whole place.
All right.
But the size of the ruins is large enough such that you could probably like find a place to camp here. It's like the end of the day. You could probably find a place to camp here. It's just a matter of whether they kind of like decide to move there and start dismantling there in the middle of the night. You're not exactly sure.
All right.
But yeah, you can return to the others.
Yeah, I'll return and inform them of this.
All right. Well, what was the ruins? What do they look like?
They look like
Can you try
ruins.
to describe some of the ruins there? Because, stone cutting dwarf, I might know something about it.
I mean, I'll try to describe them as best as I can.
Okay, you like try to kind of like relay the structure and kind of like the carvings on them, you can Morton, you can go ahead and make a history check with your stone cutting modifier. However, it will be at disadvantage just because you're not really seeing it yourself. You're getting like a secondhand recounting.
Yeah, but it's basically
You get
history
like
with
double your proficiency, I think. Yeah.
yeah, but oh yeah. So I roll d20 plus 6. d20 plus 6. Roll d20. So 12.
Okay. So you're not exactly sure, like the date or the civilization in question, but just based on the way that he described the kind of like architecture, the carvings of it, it is definitely not dwarven, not human, most likely elven of some kind, like ancient elven ruins that were made here in the foothills. There's too much kind of like organicness to the carving that he described for it to be like anything else.
From what I can see, like it doesn't have the crude touch of a dwarf. It has the elegant touch of a elf, and not the simple touch of a human. So it's probably elven runes, and I can probably decipher it more if I see it myself. But it's elven runes. I don't see what the dwarves, the humans, and the giants would do with that. But
Well, I mean, as I said, it looks like they're tearing it apart.
hey,
Did it seem like they were looking for something, or just
I mean,
tearing
they were
it down?
going at it with a purpose, but I'm assuming it just looked like destruction to me.
To you, yeah, it basically just looked like they were just breaking it apart. They weren't like purposefully scouring through it or anything like that. It was just like smashing everything, and then the giants were rearranging pieces.
That's odd. How far away have we gotten from the now ruined town?
Probably like a few hours. At this point, you've traveled deeper into the foothills, and it's now like late at night. About when you'd be trying to set up a camp, to rest. And Lob is kind of like yawning at this point. He's like,
Well, it seems like Lob is getting tired, so we should find a somewhat safe place to turn in for the night.
hey,
Perhaps away from this group of people. And we'll try to find a somewhat secluded location where we can potentially have a fire going and go to sleep without getting noticed.
I'm fine with that.
yeah, the ruins are pretty large, so you can kind of like nestle yourself away between some like buildings or and walls and the likes. And as far as like them not finding you, it's kind of a matter of just like you hope they don't come this way. But you kind of like make your way to the other side of the ruins and set up a camp, doing your best to kind of like hide the fire from outside notice. And yeah, as you get there, like Lob immediately just collapses. In fact, he actually he kind of like wobbles a bit and like falls through like this crumbling stone wall, and then just kind of like lands in this pile of stone debris. Some of it kind of like clattering around him and on top of him, like a makeshift stone blanket.
Nice. And we'll set up a watch rotation, obviously.
yeah.
All right, who would like to go first then?
I'll go middle.
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead and give me a perception check. All right. So as you're keeping watch here for the first couple of hours during the night, Lucas, kind of like staying alert for any sign of like noises or anything, you do still hear like in the distance the sound of kind of like crumbling stone, like stone smashing against stone or being like piled on top of each other. So it's clear like they're still working into the night on whatever it was they were doing, but it's not getting any closer to your position currently, and kind of continues to do so for the duration of your watch. And eventually it kind of like your couple of hours passes, and it comes time for the next person in line.
Okay.
Aye.
All right. So then Xeric will be next.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead and give me a perception check. All right. So with that, same sort of like situation with Lucas. You can kind of like still hear the sound of stone dismantling late into the night. And you notice that it does seem to be getting slightly closer now. Not enough just yet to be worried about, but it's definitely clear that they are kind of like making their way in your direction.
Aye. Fair enough.
And then your couple of hours kind of like passes again, like the sound getting closer and closer to you as those hours wind down. But eventually, it becomes time to pass the torch, as it were.
Whoever is last now.
There's 2 more watches because you have to break into 2-hour chunks.
I'll do the next one.
Okay. Yes. So go ahead and give me a perception check.
I'll wake him up and I go like, for the 2 hours I was waking watch, they seem like they're getting closer. So just keep an eye out and ear out, because I think they're getting closer.
Understood. Understood, and I go back to sleep.
He just goes back to sleep. So Sir Alamir, imperceptive as he is during this night, is distracted by something. So you do not get any further
Can
hints
I
of.
do inspiration?
You can spend your inspiration to reroll if you would like.
Nah.
Okay. So you get no further hints of whether they're getting closer or farther. You basically just completely don't pay attention. Whatever it was you were doing during the night. And eventually the couple of hours pass, and then last but not least, Alexei.
Okay. He always goes so well for me.
All right. So with a 15, as you're kind of like keeping watch here, it's kind of like getting into the morning. Like you can see like the sun beginning to rise over the horizon. The sky is kind of like lightening at this point now. You can like see a little bit better. And the first kind of like half of your watch proceeds mostly uneventfully. You do still hear that sort of like sound of like crumbling and breaking rock. And then something kind of like startles you a bit as you hear like a loud kind of like footstep almost relatively close by. And something is kind of like moving in your direction. You feel the ground kind of like shaking as something is moving vaguely in your direction, or at least nearby. And as you kind of like peek out a little bit, you see a what appears to be this stone giant that is just sort of like wandering its way across the path down this ancient road through this civilization. It is definitely going, like, its current trajectory is definitely going to like at least walk past where you guys are currently. But because it's still kind of like dark, you can't really make out too much of the details of like what it's doing. But it's definitely moving in your direction. You see this sort of like shadowy figure, large and imposing.
Make my way over to the camp, and I guess I'll like let's see. Yeah. Morton's character. So I go up to Zurich and I like shake him away and say, Zurich! Zurich! Zurich!
Yes.
There's a stone giant coming our way.
Okay. I kind of like take a look after it then. Can I like percept it and see what it's doing?
Yeah, so go ahead and make a perception check. Okay, with that, you notice that it seems to, as it's like walking towards you, it has this almost, it's walking straight, but it has this almost sort of like blank kind of like stare into the horizon, as if it's sort of like looking out at something and not really paying attention to what's going on around it. And it just kind of like seems to be almost like this meandering kind of like walk. And with that roll, you notice that in like along its kind of like skin, there are these kind of like protrusions sticking out, and it almost looks like statues of what appear to be like various humanoid figures have been sort of like inserted into its like skin. Several of them.
I kind of just stand like dumbfounded by that, like, what the? Okay, get down. I like a motion Alexa to just get down while he passes by.
Alright.
Just wait for him to hopefully just blindly walk past.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so as he gets like a little bit closer, he's just kind of like walking past again, like 1,000-yard stare into the distance. He gets to the point where he's about like 30 feet away from where you are. And Alexei and Xeric, as you're kind of like keeping an eye out on him, just making sure he's not like doing anything funny. Can you make for me a charisma saving throw?
Oh God. Do I have? Don't I like dwarfs have? Something
No,
against that?
dwarfs don't have
Uh,
anything special against charisma saves. Nope.
What happened to mine?
Oh, didn't roll it. Weird.
Using my inspiration, I just got to roll.
Okay.
Why do I keep typing two twos? What the?
Yay, one
Wow,
better.
Nice. So what happens is as you guys are looking at this giant as it passes by, suddenly you kind of like feel yourselves drifting off almost, and you almost feel as though everything around you is sort of just like this like strange dream, and you realize at some point you must have kind of like fallen asleep, and you've now kind of like entered into this dream. You've been dreaming this kind of like whole time, and this giant that is walking in front of you. There's something strange and alluring about it, and without really like realizing what you're doing, you begin kind of like making your way towards it as it's kind of like meandering, walking out from the cover towards this giant. And as you're all doing this, Xeric and Alexei walking out into the open, you see kind of in the midst of this dream these flickering flames, and more people seem to be joining you on this strange dream that you're having, this shared experience. These weird tribal-looking people with kind of like bearskin cloaks, and they point and gesture at you, raising their spears as if to welcome you into this grand kind of like parade. And let me just go ahead and get this set up real quick. I'm just gonna go ahead and make kind of like a. Not that guy. All right. So those two are asleep. You are like over here, following after the giant.
Oh God.
Not this giant, this other one. You. Whoop, not that small. Why is he so small? Grow.
I mean, the chips has been closed for a while, so
Yeah. Because I had those sick gains. Yeah, so they start like raising your spears, and let's just go ahead and roll initiative.
I mean, we're still asleep, so
Yeah. So you're not joining for the time being, although you probably will be woken up relatively soon.
Oh, now you're giving me the natural 20, huh?
Of course.
ooh, 4. Nice.
Okay. So you, yeah, and you see these kind of like small bears. They seem to be kind of like dancing along these alongside these people with their spears raised in the air. Just what a fantastic and lovely dream you're having.
I'm spooked.
No, you're having a nice time.
Yeah, you're having like a nice, pleasant dream. So like yeah, Xeric, you see like as you're kind of like walking after this giant, you see these figures in the distance. They're kind of like dancing and waving their spears at you. And these bears seem to be kind of like doing these funny tricks.
Can I try to fight it more?
Yeah. So like, describe what you do on your turn, and then like you can make a save at the end.
Basically, I love animals, like you saw that with a bear. So I'm just gonna like smile at the bears and look at them like fucking be a dumb little idiot just looking at a bear like happily.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you do that. Like Xeric is kind of like smiling and waving at the bear. As it's doing like these funny little tricks. Go ahead and at the end of your turn, you can repeat the charisma saving throw.
Fuck's sake.
No, you are still taken by this dream that has come over you.
Yeah, I have the cloak of protection that gives to all saving throws. Does 13 work?
13. A 13 does succeed then in that case. So yes, you kind of like as you're like smiling and waving at this bear, suddenly it stops like doing tricks and it's like growling at you. And you notice the people that were kind of like waving their spears in the air are kind of just, like actually just like pointing them at you and almost look like they're about to like throw them at you, shouting at you angrily. And you see like you look back and you see the giant is just continuing to like walk away as if nothing happened. But there are now these like kind of like Uthgar tribal warriors that are just like very angry at you. And you notice Alexei is still just kind of like dumbfounded over here. And in fact, it is your turn, Alexei. You are still kind of experiencing this weird kind of like happy dream.
Not so happy anymore.
Yeah, but what do you do during your turn? Like describe what you're doing during your turn of this like kind of dreamlike state.
Well, I guess I imagine, she sees like the tribal warriors and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. And then maybe she has a moment of like, oh, wait a minute. I don't think people usually welcome us like ever. It's usually the exact opposite.
Yeah, so eventually like you kind of like snap out of it. You're like, oh, they're not.
Basically.
Yes, and then it is their turn. They let out like a shout and begin kind of like charging in your direction. At this point, those of you that are asleep, Sir Alamir and Lucas, can you make perception checks at disadvantage for me?
Oh my.
Oh my.
Double
Sir
six.
Alamir.
Okay.
Alexei is going to die. Wake up.
So Sir Alamir, you can go ahead and roll yourself into initiative as you are awakened by the sound of these tribal warriors kind of like shouting.
I am in initiative.
Are you? Oh, I told you guys you weren't in it not to roll, but okay. It's fine.
Oh,
Yeah, I did too. Sorry.
Go slap Lucas.
All right, so these warriors begin to move forward,
I'll be right back.
charging towards you. Okay. So one of them had to dash there, that one had to dash there. So Xeric, one of them, runs up to you and is going to stab you with its spear. It has advantage due to its pack tactics. But you manage to like block it out of the way now that you've kind of like snapped out of it. And then the ones in the back, the three of them there, all throw their spears at you. Same sort of thing with advantage. 1, 2, 3. One of them catches you, kind of like in the side, dealing you 10 points of piercing damage. And then it is the bears. This bear lets out a roar as it charges forward, dancing around, up to you, and it rears back, raking across you with its claws. 18, does that hit you? No.
No.
And then trying to bite you, and that misses as well. And this bear kind of like begins running around this way, trying to get to the other side, and oops, sees Sir Alamir there. Whoops. Lucas, you are still asleep for this round. Sir Alamir, you notice like Lucas hasn't woken up yet, but you're kind of like waking up. You're prone on the ground. You don't have any of your kind of like armor on. You can't like sleep in your armor, so you don't have that right now.
All right.
Wake him up. We need him.
Yeah, just taking off my armor. All right, I get up, I grab my pole arm, and I take one step over here and I kick him awake. Is that an action or just
yeah, it'll be an action to like rouse him fully.
Can't you just attack and use your thud on him and just?
I kick him awake, and I use the rest of my movement. It's half to stand upright.
Yes, half of your movement to stand up.
5, 10, 15. Oh, and I also say, we're under attack.
All right. Yeah. So Lucas, you are woken up. Unfortunately, after your turn that you preemptively rolled in there. Very well. So then next, as you do that, this final sort of like tribal figure back here in the back. Let's see here. You see they have what appears to be this sort of like rudimentary looking short bow, but they also have clasped in their hand this strange sort of like bundle of twigs, sticks, berries, and kind of like incense dangling from it. And they're going to move up.
Who are these tribals?
And what is the range of this? I think this might be a touch one, probably. Yes, I can't do that one yet. Okay, let's try. Can't really do that one. Okay, it is going to cast a spell. Cool. Right, and that is what it does. Zurich, back around to you now. Having shaken it off, you can finally kind of like react to the situation that's going on.
What am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna. I'm gonna cast. I'm gonna cast Shield of Faith on myself. Where is it? Shield of Faith. Yes, and then I'm just gonna attack the one to the left.
Okay. Unfortunately, as you're kind of like you're still recovering a little bit from that like dream-like state you were forced to enter. You're kind of like a little bit dizzy, and as you swing your axe, this warrior wasn't really standing exactly where you thought they were, and you kind of just like swing through the air, missing. Right. So that's your action. Bonus action. Alexei.
How's this cliff face looking here?
It's not really like that steep. It's maybe like a 10-foot slide. Like
Possible to slide down, you would say.
yeah, probably.
Cool. So let's see. I'm going to give myself some Maju armor. And then, okay. And then try and slide down. So I guess it'd be like, yeah.
Okay.
There we go. So Alamir, Lucas!
All right. Yeah. So you begin like shouting as you kind of like run and slide down. Your shouting seems to have kind of like drawn the attention of most of the warriors, but also the giant seems to kind of like break out of its trance that it was almost in. Seeing you run, it almost looks as though it instinctively, seeing something kind of like fleeing, lashes out at you.
Fucking hell. This
1d
bastard have reach.
plus 10. Yes. 22.
Well, that definitely hits.
Okay. You take 19 points of bludgeoning damage as it like slams you in the back, sending you kind of like rolling a little bit forward. And then suddenly its eyes kind of like glaze over again, and it just goes back to what it was doing, kind of like wandering off.
Right. What the fuck? Yeah.
Okay. So then the tribal warriors, a couple of them take out like another spear from on their back. They are going to sort of like hop over this wall and come chasing after you, who's kind of like running away. Having seen you, there's definitely like they seem angry at you for some reason. You're not exactly sure why.
I didn't do anything.
So two of them strike at Alexei. Two of them strike at Xeric. So against Alexei, they have their spears. 1, 2. The second one hits you for 9. The first one misses because of your mage armor. And against Xeric, 1, 2. Those both miss. Then it is the bear. This bear rears up and charges towards you, Sir Alamir. This other one just continues to attack Xeric. So, Sir Alamir, the bear claws at you. That is a hit.
Oh, thank God it doesn't deal damage.
No, it does. So you take, 8 points of damage. And then it tries to bite you. 19? Because you are
Yeah, I have
unarmored.
12 without armor.
Yeah, okay. So you take the 6 plus 2. 5. Thankfully, it's just a little bear.
A little bear still hurts.
Yep. All right, Lucas, you are now awake. You are prone on the ground, but you are able to sort of like act in this situation. What do you do? Lucas.
Zach.
Sorry,
Muted?
didn't realize I was muted.
There we go.
Has it quite been on short rest yet? Because I know we were woken in the middle of the night here. Did
No,
I get my
yeah,
spells back?
this is the middle of the short rest, so you weren't.
All right, I don't have any
finished it,
spells
yeah.
then.
Vart var
It's actually at the end, because
Vart var tre
Alexa was the last one.
It's close to the end, but
Still
it
going?
isn't quite the end.
I mean, I'm just gonna do what I do and summon my longbow.
That's too low, but sure.
And then
Very well.
that's my turn because I can't do anything else.
Sir Alamir.
All right, I will retaliate this little bear.
Gotta show this bear who's boss.
I shall try. A hugga!
That is definitely a hit on the bear. Takes 8 points of damage, kind of like reeling back as you hit it in the side.
Does it seem like I took a chunk out of it, or?
I mean, you've definitely like pushed it back. You've dealt damage to it.
All right, another slash. Boom.
Okay. And with that, you sort of bring around the halberd. The bear, which kind of like was driven back a little bit by your first blow, seems to kind of like be a little bit off balance. So you take advantage of that, swinging and cutting across its side, and it lets out this like pained cry as it just kind of like collapses to the ground from the injuries.
Well, I will charge this guy and cut him with the end of my poleaxe.
Good. Wow. Yeah, so you charge at that guy, slam him with the end of the poleaxe, like, across the back of the head. He goes, like, reeling, nearly falling over from the blow, but, like, manages to kind of, like, stay up.
All right, let's continue.
Sure, why not? All right, yep, so you... Another blow at that guy.
My
He is,
savior.
he is now down. You just kind of, like, cut across his chest, blood scattering everywhere.
Step on top of his useless corpse. Another swing. Boom! On the guy next to me.
Okay, that guy as well goes down.
Let's see. Action surge. Blah, blah, blah. You can take on additional
Nope,
action.
That's it,
Correct,
yeah,
action.
that's it.
All right, that's all. Actually, I'll just fuck it. I'll use my second win as well. No, I can't. No, is the action search a bonus action? No, it's just
No,
something
it's
I
just
use.
a thing, yeah.
And I already used my bonus
Your
action.
bonus
Never mind.
action to thud, yeah.
Whoever said you were too old for this, Sir Alamir, was completely wrong.
Who said that? What?
No one? No one?
Have a talk after this.
Where's Podrick?
He runs away at the first sight of trouble.
Alright, okay.
So he's somewhere over behind the walls, hiding.
Yeah, he's hiding.
Fair
Alright,
enough.
So then the shaman mutters and casts a spell. Cool. I'm just gonna put
Enough spells, I'm scared.
feet. And as it does this, you see these sort of like spectral blue figures of bears and kind of like bear-cloaked warriors begin sort of like flitting around in the air around this shaman. Who then charges in over here. Like so. Yes, perfect. Right there. All right, and then Xeric, at the start of your turn, these spectral figures begin like the bears begin like swiping and clawing at you. The warriors swinging at you with their axes. Can you go ahead and make a Wisdom saving throw? I gotta figure out why your sheet is not rolling any of those things. Okay, that is a success, so you will take half of whatever this is. So you take 7 points of necrotic damage from these spirits sort of like tearing through you. But then it is your turn. Xeric.
You're muted.
You're muted. Or, like, just
I
not talking.
take a step out to the side,
Okay. These tribal
leaving the range of
warriors-
those two probably.
Yep, they are going to attack you. Both of them with advantage.
Yeah.
1, 2. They both miss.
I took 7 damage, was it? Yes,
Yes.
it was. So I'm on.
And make the concentration check on your shield of faith
Yeah.
or whatever.
50,
DC 10.
there we go. It's Constitution saving throw.
Yeah.
Roll d20 plus 5.
Okay.
That's
you're
fine. I strike the guy in front of me again.
All right. That time you hit. Kind of like he tries to like catch it with the spear, but you like brute force past it. Still standing, but you like knock them back.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And, nah, I don't feel like using spells here unless I have to.
All right. Alexei. At the start of your turn, make me a Wisdom saving throw as these like spectral spirits begin sort of like lashing at you. Okay, that is a success. So you will take 10 points of necrotic damage. And then it is your turn.
Shocking grasp.
Okay. That is a hit. You deal 4 points of lightning damage.
Okie dokie. So he doesn't have a reaction anymore.
Nope.
Run away.
All right.
That's my turn.
Then the tribal warriors are going to move surround Zurich here. This one's going to stay on Sir Elamir. Actually, yeah. So this one, Sir Elamir, you see, Alexei kind of like shocks it, and as after the stun wears off, it screams like in some sort of like strange language again, running like just past you.
Do I understand the language?
No. It's running just past you, and then throwing its spear at Alexei.
Does it actually run out of my reach, or
No.
so I can? No.
He's just running to the other side of you to get like a clear shot.
All right.
15. Goddamn.
Yep. So Alexei, suddenly this like burning sensation in your back as a spear just kind of like hits you in the backside of your abdomen.
That hurt.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the other tribal warriors.
When a creature within your reach makes an attack against a target other than you, and the target doesn't have this feat, you can use a reaction to make a melee attack against for the sentinel. So can I strike?
Let me just
With my
double
reaction.
check because some people have not written down the right things for those things.
I've just copied that, or that actually got added normally.
Attack its turn other than you. Yeah. Go ahead.
It still happens after he throws the thing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So he runs past you, throws the thing, and then you swing at his back because he's now like just unarmed, and knock him to the ground.
Nice.
It was a very strange, like, strategic choice on his point. You're not exactly sure why he chose to do that, but
Stop gimping
well.
the mage.
Meanwhile, the other tribal warriors kind of like surround Zurich here, and just go to town on him. So
They're not really doing much though.
I mean, yeah, they can't. Your AC is so high they can't really. They have to like crit to hit you.
You just see me standing there with a shield, I'm like clunk, 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 clunk.
You don't need to stand the shield; they just pink against your armor. Tink, 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 tink.
Okay.
No.
Bear.
Toothpicks poking you.
Oh, the bear gets you.
Oh shit! The bear struck me.
He bites you.
Bite me in the kneecap. Bastard.
4 points of damage, and don't fail that con save.
No, I probably hope I won't. Roll d20.
Oh. Oh. That is good. You're fine. All right. So then it is Lucas's turn.
All right, let's just take a step out here in front of Alexei, and then
Lucas.
this is the only This is like going up or down. This
It goes up from your.
goes
current-
up.
current
Can I see
elevation.
them?
Yeah, because it's just like it's like 10 foot.
Okay,
So you can like see.
so I can see them.
You can see at least the bear in this one here.
Yeah, and then I can see this lady.
Yeah. So there's like this female who's kind of like dressed in these in this kind of like garb.
And a giant.
Yeah,
Listen,
the
I'm
giant-
just now taking in the scene. I just
Yes,
woke up.
You just woke up. So yeah, there's this lady. She's like kind of like conjured these spirits are kind of like tearing through the air around her. These like bears and kind of like bear cloaked warriors. There's a giant, like the stone giant, that just seems to be walking away from the scene. And then there's like a bunch of these tribal warriors basically like fighting Zurich.
All right, I'm gonna shoot the lady. Bad lady. No spirit guardians. That's not supposed to be a disadvantage. I had it from the
Okay,
perception.
well the
But the
first
first
one,
one's
yeah,
still
it's still a miss.
still 11. Second one though is a nat 20 actually.
Yeah.
So I'll roll another D8.
So
another
that does
7 on that, so 19.
19. Okay. So the arrow hits. Let me just see here.
The first one was just a guide to get through the spirit guardians. They were
Of
blocking
course,
my sight.
totally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, no. The guardians remain. All right. Anything else?
I literally cannot do anything else.
Good, Sir Alamir. Go ahead and make a wisdom save at the start of your turn.
Oh god. Nice.
All right. You take 9 points of necrotic damage. And for what it's worth, this kind of like blackish area that is difficult terrain. I mean, not that it's really going to stop you. You got plenty of movement.
No. I will take my steps towards that shaman thingy and unleash my wrath.
Okay, that's a hit.
Ooh.
That is not.
Big miss. Yeah, I'll bonus action thought him.
All right, that is also a hit. And then, let's see here. Okay, on the quarterstaff, as you slam the back of their head, the ancestral spirits kind of fade. But they are still standing.
Yeah.
Not did it gone gently into that sweet night. Okay. So, now, the fun part. What the hell does this spell do? Great things, no doubt. Great things indeed. Oh, I have to give them a refund on their HP here, because they had temp HP I forgot about. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, this creature, this kind of like human barbarian looking folk in front of you, Sir Alamir, kind of like mutters something under their breath in their kind of like strange guttural language, and then like reaches towards you. This like black smoke coming off of their hand, and reaches towards you. Let me see here. Creature. Can you make a wisdom saving throw as they kind of like reach out to grab you?
Wisdom again. I'll throw in my inspiration. Oh, I clicked it away.
Thor is awake.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, just in time.
Just managed.
All right. So, due to the power of inspiration, you are able to resist the effects of the Bestow Curse spell. And you are not cursed.
Congratulations.
And that's
Or I
that.
can
So,
remove
Zurich.
curses. That would have been fine. Well, I'm just standing here being the tank I am, so I just, keep hitting the guy.
Entirely surrounded.
All right. Which one is that against?
That one, same as last time.
Okay.
The one I hit
that
last
one falls to the ground. Kind of like knocks some sense into it.
I knock his axe into his neck and I just kick him out and I go like, Alamir, I might need some help over here.
I just need to finish this.
Alexei.
Second.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think Zurich's got that stuff under control. Yeah, I think so. Scorching Ray. I'm gonna Scorching Ray that bitch. That Sir Alamir's fighting.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I have to
so with
repeat
the first ray strikes, catches her aflame, and then she collapses to the ground as the fire kind of like burns her.
That was Okay, cool. Can I use my other 2 rays on other targets then?
That is how the spell functions. Yes.
Okay. So I guess 1 on the bear, 1 on the dude.
Sure. If that's what you want to do.
That was your last mistake. What?
Okay. So the bear is hit, but it's still up. The warrior is hit and actually falls to the ground, burning and screaming. Oh God! Ah! Ah! All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's me.
All right.
I'm also going to BRB.
So this final tribal warrior is going to stab at you, Zurich. One last time. Nope. The bear also just going to attack you. Nope. And ooh, bites you again.
Oh, man.
Another 6 points of damage to you.
6 points of damage. Oh, man.
Yep. And then
Now Alquill wakes up.
Lucas.
Alquill. Why am I saying I'm Alquill? What am I doing?
What?
Nothing. I'm going to shoot the bear since you said I could see the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Does an 11 hit the bear?
An 11 actually does hit. Yes.
All right. Is it still up?
Yes. With that, a second arrow slams into the bear's kind of like rear, and it kind of lets out a growl as it collapses to the ground.
Shot in the butt. It growled
Yep.
and died.
Yep.
Rawr.
All right, Sir Alamir, I think is next.
Swell.
It will be. I'll say it is 10 feet of like difficult terrain to climb back up the cliff. It's easy to slide down, but you kind of have to strain to climb up.
All right, so 5. 15?
We'll say it's 20 feet. 20 feet to get
All right.
up.
And 25. And Kapowie! Damn it.
I mean that hits, and that does in fact knock out the
Yeah.
final tribesfolk.
Did it do non-lethal?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Yeah.
What are we supposed to? So,
yes,
what's the situation with these stone giants?
So
Or
during this whole battle, the stone giant has basically just been walking away, and now you can kind of see it's like basically kind of like at the edge of your vision.
Alright.
And is now just kind of like leaving. And yeah, so you are no longer sort of being attacked actively at this point in time. Right, and with that, you guys, there are no further interruptions to your rest, and you guys can finish the short rest.
Swell. Is everyone okay?
Nap time.
I'm fine. A little bit sore here and there, but
Yeah, I can tell from the things in your armor there.
I gotta like go back and like lie down, rest for the last.
I look over Alexei and check for injuries and stuff. I'll make a medicine check.
I mean, she injured.
Ugh. All right, I have to amputate this. Sorry,
You gotta cut it off. Cut out, yeah.
Yep.
You cut off
Head.
her. You cut off
Yeah,
her,
yeah,
her magic casting hand.
Yep.
Well, she's not here to say anything against it, so
Nope.
here goes.
It has.
Bring out the axe.
Yep. Totally. Alrighty then. So, we'll go ahead and say you guys finish the short rest, and then you guys can hit the button and wake up the next morning. This is the second day. So this is the end of the second day. So you're now going into the third. And then that's in addition to the 1 day you had already done. So this would be the 4th day.
Day number 4.
Which means I think Xeric is kind of like running low here.
Yeah.
We should keep moving. Or we should find a place where we can sleep properly. If we
Well,
find
we,
like
we
an
already got sleeps.
sleep properly, like if we find like a city, like a village, would we get a proper long rest there?
Yeah, you'd have to find some sort of like
shelter,
civilization,
like-
like actual, yeah. Like if you happen across a hamlet here in the foothills that is populated, you could theoretically get a long rest there.
Okay.
Of course, the last one that you went to wasn't so populated, so who knows? But for now, it is Short Rest City.
That's all I need. Fighters for the win. And warlocks. Hey Thor, welcome.
Hello.
How was your drugged up sleep?
I feel very rested, actually.
That's good.
It's great.
For the
Maybe you
first
should
time in my-
maybe you should take the drugs a little bit earlier next time.
Instead of 6 a.m.
I was very busy preparing for a session, not this session, but like the session coming after.
Oh man. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think we're really going to get that much further today. So I think now is probably a good enough time to kind of call it, even though we started late and we're ending early. I don't really think we're not really gonna get much done in half an hour, anyways. So I mean, I guess if we want to just kind of like wind down a little bit during the last half hour, and if somebody wants to like tell Thor what happened, that'd be cool. I'm going to go ahead and end the sort of like stream and recording here. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.